counsel, members of the jury, the prosecution has taken a shortcut. The prosecution alleges that Whit Bowman helped Cameron Poole commit a theft and a robbery at Rock the World. Now, the prosecution has put on a thorough, compelling, convincing case today. It is not in dispute that these crimes occurred. They've put on a thorough, compelling, convincing case against Cameron Poole. But the prosecution is taking a shortcut from Cameron Poole to Whit Bowman. And this case is about Whit Bowman. This case is about deciding whether Whit Bowman and Whit Bowman alone is guilty. Now, the prosecution's shortcut is a rush to judgment, an attempt to prove guilt by association. We have heard today that Cameron Poole is still at large, so the prosecution has taken a shortcut from Cameron Poole to Whit Bowman. Now, you heard Whit Bowman testify today. She's not perfect. She will be the first one to admit that. She knew that Cameron Poole was stealing money from Rock the World. She was concerned on August 30th because her fingerprints were on those wristbands. She should have come forward with what she knew, and she didn't. But members of the jury, Ms. Bowman's failure to report Cameron Poole's theft is not a crime. Specifically, the prosecution is pursuing all charges based on a legal theory called complicity. Now, complicity means that not only did they have to prove that Ms. Bowman helped Cameron Poole commit these crimes, but they had to prove that Ms. Bowman's intent to commit these crimes rose to the same level as Cameron Poole's intent. We have seen a distinct lack of evidence about Whit Bowman's intent to commit any crime. That's why the prosecution has taken a shortcut from Cameron Poole to Whit Bowman. Now, Whit Bowman is charged with 3 crimes. The first is theft by deception, related to this wristband scheme in the Rock the World ticket booth. As we've discussed, Ms. Bowman did know about this scheme, but that is not enough to prove complicity. The prosecution failed to produce a single witness who testified that they saw Ms. Bowman handling these wristbands, who testified that they saw Ms. Bowman selling these wristbands, who testified about any way in which Ms. Bowman might have helped order these wristbands, who testified that Ms. Bowman gained any money as a result of this scheme. All of the evidence points to Cameron Poole and Cameron Poole alone. The prosecution has failed to prove theft by deception beyond a reasonable doubt. Second, Ms. Bowman is charged with robbery in the first degree as a result of the robbery that occurred at the Rock the World ticket booth and the murder of Officer Winston Thomas, who died during that pursuit. And the prosecution is alleging 2 ways in which Ms. Bowman was supposedly complicit in this crime. First, they're alleging that Ms. Bowman provided a knife used by Cameron Poole. Members of the jury, we've heard no identifying characteristics of this knife. We don't have this knife in evidence. We did hear a few witnesses testify about it. Mr. Longstreet said that Ms. Floyd told him she was robbed with a knife. She didn't say anything about Whit Bowman or Whit Bowman's knife. She said a knife. You heard Tyler Hartman say that Whit Bowman gave a knife to Cameron Poole, but I'd like to remind you of the circumstances under which Ms. Hartman supposedly observed that. Ms. Hartman was in an employee locker room at Rock the World. She was crouched up on a toilet in a stall, looking through a crack in the door through which she admitted it was hard to see. Members of the jury, today Ms. Hartman said she recalled specific words and interactions in that conversation. But when she was interviewed by the police on August 30th, asked about Cameron Poole and Whit Bowman, she failed to mention any of that. And we know why. Mr. Longstreet is Ms. Hartman's hero. And Ms. Hartman was annoyed with Whit Bowman. Ms. Hartman knew what happened in the park. She saw her opportunity. Second, the prosecution is alleging that Ms. Bowman intentionally positioned herself at the controls of the Tunnel of Terror to help Cameron Poole escape. We heard two defense witnesses testify about ride operation at Rocker World. First, Jackie Hunter took the stand. Ms. Hunter told you that she's observed problems with other rides at the park, not just the Tunnel of Terror. Mr. Longstreet even told you that there have been injuries at the park in the past. This isn't the first time someone's been injured at Rocker World. Then Buttons Conroy told you that he used to own this ride, the Tunnel of Terror. Mr. Conroy testified that this exact mistake, engaging blackout mode instead of emergency stop mode on this control panel, that mistake has been made before, at least twice, that Mr. Conroy saw. We even heard from someone who's made that mistake herself. Ms. Billy Isaacs testified that she's made the same mistake too, so we know of at least 3 occasions in which someone in a normal circumstance, no emergencies, no gunshot, someone has made that mistake on the Tunnel of Terror, and yet the prosecution is alleging that they have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that this was intentional. They have not. Members of the jury, the prosecution has failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ms. Bowman is guilty of robbery or murder. August 30th started like a normal day for Whit Bowman. She arrived at Rocker World and she did her job. But those last moments operating the Tunnel of Terror changed everything. Cameron Poole and Officer Thomas were sprinting towards her, and she didn't know why. In a panic, someone fired a gun. People in the area dropped to the ground. In the panic of the situation, she made a mistake. She hit the wrong control. She engaged blackout mode. She corrected her mistake as soon as she could. Members of the jury, why did Whit Bowman make a mistake? Ms. Bowman made a mistake because she is not a police officer, not a soldier, not a professional who has trained for a career in handling emergency situations. She is a 21-year-old ride operator at a Midlands amusement park, and the situation that unfolded on August 30th is not in her job description. She made a mistake. And now the prosecution is trying to take a shortcut from mistake to guilt. The prosecution wants you to convict Whit Bowman's friend for Whit Bowman's crime. The prosecution wants you to convict Whit Bowman for Cameron Poole's crimes because they have failed to catch Cameron Poole. Members of the jury, the prosecution's shortcuts could put the wrong woman behind bars. Do not take their shortcuts. Look at the evidence. The evidence supports Cameron Poole's guilt and Whit Bowman's innocence. You must return a verdict.